Welcome back, everybody, to QLAG. My name is Riley Standifer, and today in our interview series, I'm excited to introduce you to one of my favorite people, Kelly Minter. What's up, Kelly?
Hey, not much. Thanks so much for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
We're glad to have you too. So, Kelly, could you tell us a little bit about your church, the work that you do, all of that other good stuff?
Sure thing. I'm Kelly. I am a youth pastor at a church in Northeast Florida in the Florida Conference. And I also work for the Florida Conference in coordinating student leadership opportunities. So our CCYM and our youth caucus annual conference. I coordinate those things. I also am a counselor in the Northeast Florida area, and I focus mostly on LGBTQIA plus teens and families, and helping them to navigate some of the things that come up specifically for them and for their families. So that's me. That's me.
Awesome. Could you tell us a little bit about what motivated you to seek out those opportunities and work on them?
Yeah, I heard a call into youth ministry specifically when I was in 11th grade by a pastor that was at my church, and we didn't have a youth group, so we kind of started one up. That was where the youth ministry portion came in. I've always known that I identify as bisexual. That's never been a surprise to me. I just always kind of figured it was something that I'd never talked to anybody about, because growing up in the church, that's just not something we talked about. I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and it's all very purity movement centered, and just don't talk about it and it'll go away kind of thing. Then I realized it wasn't going to go away. And through college, I went to a very conservative college that I don't regret going to, but I do maybe regret learning some of the lessons that they taught me as young as I learned them. So that was a thing. And then as I really sort of fleshed out my call into ministry, I always kind of knew that injustice was something that really gets to me. And it took a while to really formulate the understanding of the injustice that I feel is done to those in the queer community through the church, the entity that should be doing that the least. And so that's sort of where that solidified for me. And I knew, I've always felt like I've never understood wherever you stand on what the scripture says about homosexuality or anything that's not, straight cisgender life. I've never understood why the church would be okay with the astounding suicide rates and mental, just the stress that we put on people who identify as non-cis or non-heterosexual, and why the church is okay with putting people in those positions. And so specifically in the counseling area, I just feel like it's super important that we're helping people to develop the tools and the words and the affirmations in themselves, because unfortunately for some people it's not there in their families still. But maybe if I can help some families figure out how to be affirming and how to be accepting, and how to understand this is not a problem, but it's your child letting you know who you are, or your sibling letting you know who they are, that's all it is. But yeah, so my own identity and growing up in the church and seeing how that was treated, and knowing that I had the privilege to pass as cisgender and heterosexual as being bisexual, I have that privilege. And so many don't. And I just watched what it did to people. And I'm like, I can't be a part of doing that. And I need to help stop it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing. I know in my own life, you've also been a mentor and a teacher to me. So as to the other people that are going to listen to this, know that you have a very special place in my heart. So Kelly, could you tell us a little bit about the work that you do now? You said that you're a counselor. What does that look like?
So I'm working with a private practice. It's a Christian counseling practice, which is a weird story, because when I started out deciding to, go back to school to be a therapist, I was never going to work at a Christian counseling group. as I knew I wanted to focus on marginalized teens, and not just, it's sort of expanded because as people are sort of wrestling with this, it's not happening as much in their teens as much as it is in their college years. And so it's sort of like grown age group wise. But my intention was teens initially. So I never wanted to be at a practice that had counseling, had Christian in the counseling name, because that scares people away.
Yeah,
So
totally.
but I found this amazing internship through a friend at Flagler College, knew a friend who was starting up a counseling practice, Elbow Tree Christian Counseling in St. Augustine, Florida. I went in to have my interview, and I've been there ever since, both through my internship in school and then, ever since then. And I love it. I love it. It's a very eclectic group. Like, we all have different specialties, which is really cool. But specifically, again, I felt the thing about growing up in the church, especially growing up in the church identifying as queer, is that you are always waiting for other people to validate your, at least I was, and people of I think my age group, I don't know if it's different now, I would hope it's different now, but you're always waiting for someone to validate your call or to validate your direction. Like, I think this is what I need, but can somebody just affirm that for me? And so I spent a little bit of time wrestling with that. Like, why do I feel like I need someone to validate? Reaching out to people who are hurting, because that's what we do.
Yeah.
Um, kind of got a tough talking to by the practice owner, because he was like, why are you waiting for me to say, yes, do this? Like, if that's what you're called to do, that's what you do, and so that was a good conversation, which made me then reach out to the Episcopal church in our area, who has we're calling it a Brave Space group. And so we meet right now virtually, because everyone's meeting virtually every Monday night. And it's a support group for teens who identify within the LGBTQIA plus community. And we have some guest hosts. Sometimes people come in, talk about how they're living out their queerness in their lives as adults, kind of give the students a direction to like shoot for and to normalize life outside of high school, for people.
Yes.
And it's been great. It's been really cool. And one of the really cool things that I've noticed since the pandemic is that we've been able to, now that we're online, been able to open it to more people. I personally have some concerns about teens who identify as queer and are not in affirming homes and are locked in their homes right now. I have a lot of concerns. And so everything that I can possibly do that helps people to know that they are loved and know that they are whole as they are, and know that they are beautiful designs and creatures of God. Everything that I can do that helps that to happen is what I'm kind of focusing on. But yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Kelly, is there anything else that you'd like to share with us today?
I think for me right now, the oddest place to be in is the place that, you sit also, which is being so closely affiliated with the conference that feels very affirming, and very inclusive, knowing that we are really one end of a pandemic away from watching things that we've loved our whole lives split up, no matter what we do at this point.
Yeah.
And I think that the only other thing that I'd want to say to anybody listening is that this is kind of my message across the board. Got like a YouTube channel with an Ask a Therapist video and everything, but people need to give themselves space to grieve what is happening to a beloved community. Like, people need to give themselves the permission and the space to do that. It's okay. And that's something I'm working on for myself during the pandemic and being locked in home. But also, it's okay to have lots of feelings right now. And it's okay to be confused and frustrated. And, it's okay for, teens and young adults who are in less than affirming homes. If you need to find a way to affirm your queerness outside of your home right now, then you need to do that. And if you need to keep that really close to your chest, then you need to do that too, because who you are is who you are, and that's okay. And how you feel about what's going on is how you feel what's going on, and that's okay too. I spent a lot of years questioning why God would make things so hard for me. And I get it now for me. And I'm not saying he does this to everybody, but I know for me, I'm a very stubborn person and I have a very hard head. And he is helping me now to see. I don't really feel like God puts us in these situations to like teach us a lesson, but he's using where I was and how I felt unseen and how I felt unloved. He's using that now to help other people. And that's so cool.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I don't think I ever realized he worked that way, until recently. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing with us today, Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you guys would like to check out more of Kelly's work, you can find her at.
Yeah. So you can find me on YouTube. If you just Google Ask a Therapist, you can find most of my videos. But also, my email for the counseling practice is kelly@elbowtreeflorida.com. And that's probably the easiest way to contact me rather than through my conference email, because that's
Mhm.
in and out, honestly. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But my Elbow Tree, Florida counseling email does. So that'd be a great place to find me. You can also find me on Twitter, on Instagram. Kelly Arminter is my handle across everything. So yeah, I'd love to interact with you if you have any questions or want to talk through some of the stuff you're going through, or just want to share your experiences. I love hearing people's stories. So I'd love to have you share yours.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again, Kelly. You can check out more of QLAG's interviews on our Facebook page at QLAG. That's QLAG. And you can find more of me across the social medias at Riley Standifer. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.